Hey everyone, we're here chatting with Jack Stratus. He worked with us on the Do Not Burn game, and he made the maze mechanic and the forest level. So we're here chatting with him to see what he worked on, what he thought about it, and learn a little bit more about Jack. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I had a lot of fun working with you on the jam. It was seemed like a very
Yeah, same.
solid working rhythm. Like we kind of jumped into our own scenes, made our things, and had effective collaboration and like no merge conflicts. I love it.
Yeah, that's always a nice thing.
It's not a guarantee. So like when you find people you don't have merge conflicts with, it's something you very much appreciate.
Hmm.
Yeah. So let's talk about well, first let's talk about you as a person. You want to introduce yourself and like so we can get to know you a little better?
Sure. I'm Jack Stratus. I got my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Cornell, master's degree in robotics from the University of Michigan. I spent a few years working as a software developer for a consulting firm, and now I'm working on transitioning into game development.
Oh, excellent. So this is something you want to get into doing full time.
Yeah, if possible.
Well, that sounds like something that would be really fascinating to get to know and understand a little bit better.
Well, robotics are kind of the intersection of mechanical, electrical, and computer science.
Okay, cool. What made you want to make the switch to games instead of pursuing robotics?
Um, so, I was always interested in making video games. I grew up playing video games, and I still play them every day. But I think for most of my life, I felt that because I was the smart kid, because I was competent, I had to do something more important with my life, like almost like I would be wasting my talent if I just made games. But a few years ago, I played Nier Automata, and without spoiling too much, at the end of the game, in the credits, they ask you a lot of questions, and one of those questions is, do you think games are silly little things? And something about that just kind of broke me, because it's like, after going through such a beautiful game, how can I say that they're just silly little things? They're not. I think they mean something to the people who play them. They connect people, and beyond that, they're just fun. And I think after realizing that, I realized that I could be content making video games just knowing that they make people's lives just a little bit better. And ever since then, I've been pursuing game development.
I resonate with that wholeheartedly. A lot of times I'll be in like entrepreneurial VC groups, we doing pitch competitions. You got all those people there and like doing finance tech, med tech, all these other more serious applications of technology. And it's like, yeah, you've got these things that are making life easier, things that are making life longer, but you know, with the extra time you get from it being easier and the time you get from life being longer, you need to have those things that make life worth living, and games
Hmm.
fully satisfy that because it gives you something to lose yourself in, to help find meaning, and it can be the powerful narrative experiences of a single player game, or it can be the time that you share with your friends. Like uh, I think about when somebody's on their deathbed, perhaps when I'm on my deathbed, I'll be sitting down, thinking about that, you know, all the moments of my life that mattered. And one of those things is going to be like remembering sitting around with some of my friends when I was in elementary school, and that night that I aced everybody, 3-1 in Goldeneye when I had max handicaps against me. And, I think I got something like 20 something kills to one. And, I was like, um, the champion of GoldenEye that night. But it was like a very memorable experience that resonates with me forever. And you share these experiences, and it makes something that is, um, it gives you experiences worth having that you share with people that you care about.
Yeah, absolutely. These are the moments that we're going to remember.
Yeah, moments that make life worth living.
Hmm.
I love that answer from you because it sounds like you have landed right in the same spot that I have with like games are not just silly. There's real value to them.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's cool. What kind of projects have you worked on? Because I know we first worked together in the Global Game Jam in the past month. So we've done two projects in the past month together. I'm curious, like what you've done before we met.
So I've worked on a couple of different projects. Most of them have not really gotten too far along. Currently, I'm working on what is basically uh, Doom Crossing. So it's a top-down shooter where you fight dirt monsters while cleaning and decorating houses. And there's a kind of like style system where you get better scores for making the houses look nice and doing it fast. So that's my current long-term project.
Okay. That sounds interesting. It's like you got to keep the house clean, but also make it stylish.
Hmm.
That's a
A
fun
little bit of
concept.
Devil May Cry in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I've noticed that you like to tackle really complicated mechanics. Like in the Global Game Jam, you wanted to do a swappable ability system that you worked in
Mhm.
really well with the character controller that I made. And then in this project, Do Not Burn, you worked on a really interesting portal like maze running mechanic. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. You're absolutely right. I do like making very complicated systems. I think that's what makes things fun. Um, but I'll pull up Unity and I can show you a little bit about how the portals work. Let me just screen share real
I'd love
quick.
that. Yeah. Okay, so here's the mechanic in action.
Yeah, so it might not look like much right now, but there is actually a portal in front of us. Um, so the way this works under the hood, basically, we have the portal in front of us, and we have another portal somewhere else, and there's a camera on the other side of the portal that is basically mimicking the player's movements on this side and projecting what the camera sees on that side to the image on the portal right in front of us.
I feel like mirroring
So
relative
we're
positions.
yeah. So we're
Okay.
seeing what we would be seeing if we were on the other side of the portal.
Okay.
And there's a lot of complicated quaternion math involved in that, which makes me very thankful for my mechanical engineering degree, because I don't think I would have been able to figure it out otherwise. I started with a Brackeys tutorial on like the first day of the jam, just like getting the base mechanic down. But
Right.
unfortunately, that tutorial only covers like a single pair of portals that are positioned vertically, and I wanted to make it so that you could have an arbitrary number of portals in any orientation. So
Right.
that took a couple extra days just getting that working, but it does work.
It works
Um,
really well. Like, I mean, people, especially with the camera filter, people have a hard time telling, that you're teleporting at all.
mhm. And if I just go through this right now, you can barely tell that anything happened, but we did just teleport right there.
Yeah, there's a little bit of
And
an issue with the material on the ground, and I think that's just because it's a highly metallic material. So, like in
mhm.
different parts of the scene, they just have a different sheen.
Yeah, and I think part of that is if the portals are not like 180 degrees from each other, the mesh doesn't like line up, like the
Right.
angles don't line up quite right,
Right.
but it's still very close. And I think what makes the transition so seamless is that actually all of these hallways made of trees are rotationally symmetric about their midpoint, which is right about here where the portal was. Um,
Right.
so no matter which direction you're going in, it looks the same way. Like all the trees are positioned in the same position relative to each other. And if we go up ahead a little further, we can see some more portals. Yeah, right there. We just
Yeah.
passed through one. You probably saw a little bit of a stutter there, but for the most part, it's very hard to tell when you actually go through them.
Right. Yeah, and with the fog effects that we have during the gameplay itself, it's very you can't see that far end of it. So the
Mhm.
teleport, you can't really tell that you're going into a dead end. You just kind of end up at the other side of the teleport spot. Oh,
Yeah,
there's your there's your enemy right there.
yeah. I basically drew this in like 10 minutes,
Yeah.
but it works. It got the job done.
It helped add that extra layer of strange to the game, which really fit the theme of the game jam, which is strange
And I
places.
and I really like if you inspect this dead body here, it'll actually like manually pan the camera slowly towards the monster that's approaching you. And I
Yeah.
just thought that was a really cool touch.
Oh, yeah, I love that because it like plays the song like, hey, you know, you've completed the level, and then he like approaches you. Like if you're running like during the gameplay, you actually sit down and you teleport. And oh, that was weird that he was teleported like that.
Yeah, I think it might have transitioned to the wrong scene there. I'm not sure what happened.
Okay.
But anyway, so this was
Oh, this
this was
part
pretty
was
much
cool.
my contribution to the jam.
Yeah.
This whole scene.
No, that could. I thought it was a really good working rhythm that we had because you were able to focus most of your time on making this one mechanic really work well.
Hmm.
And you know it's definitely a standout scene. People either love it or they get lost and quit in the middle of playing it.
And honestly, I think that's kind of the position you want to be in. You don't want to have just an average game. You want something that people love or they hate.
Yes. Yeah. If nobody has a strong feeling about it, did you really make anything meaningful?
Exactly.
Yeah. I really like that. I've always wanted to have these kinds of mechanics in a game. Yeah, I've always
I think
wanted to
that's
have
pretty much
those
what I
kinds
wanted
of.
to show in Unity.
Yeah, that's cool. That's the kind of thing that I wanted to see. That would be really cool to highlight because a lot of the people on the team, they'll be watching this video, and you know they know that you worked on it and you popped in and every once in a while talked about it. But having some highlights of like, hey, this is how it was put together. I think the people who didn't interact with you that much would really like to see some of the details of it.
Yeah, I was definitely pretty deep in the engineering pit for most of the jam.
Yeah. Did you like that as a working style, where like everybody, like we had a overarching project plan, and then you were able to just go to the races with your mechanic?
I do. I think I work best kind of independently.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate that you didn't try to micromanage me or anything. I just told you what I was working on and I got it done.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like I really hate people who micromanage on teams. Where I think that as long as everybody is aligned in a common direction, and I can give you a very minimal amount of like, hey, here's a round manager, and this is how the level starts, and this is how the level ends, and then you can have fun making your level. Um, yeah, you can do it in your own black box. Like you handled that really well. Nothing broke.
Hmm.
And yeah, that
And
that's my
that definitely
preferred
comes with
management.
practice.
That's my preferred management style. Yeah, you're better than most people I've collaborated with. Like, definitely at
Oh,
the
well, thank you.
like at the start. I'm used to maybe a little bit of like, hey, we had a conflict here or there, and then we just walk through it, and then eventually it's okay. But yeah, I don't think I've had a single issue with our systems having problems working together. Like I was able to have a brief conversation with you during the global game jam. It's like, hey, this is how this character controller is structured, and we had was it like a 30-minute conversation, and we figured out how to make it work seamlessly with your system.
Yep. And then from there, we kind of just plugged everything in and it works.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. You kind of I'm a big proponent of meaningful meetings with agendas and not having stuff just drag on endlessly unnecessarily. Like let's get together,
Yeah,
figure it out,
absolutely.
and then let people get into flow and do their work.
Mhm. But also, to be fair, I did spend like a month working on that system for a different project, so it kind of already worked very well.
Yeah, but I mean that's good because you can have well developed systems, and as long as you make them integrate together, then that's high level development.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you want to make? Like, what's your like grand vision of a game? What are your goals?
Like my dream game.
Yeah, yeah, a dream game, and then also I want to know like, what are your interests as a developer? Do you want to do more level design, systems design?
Sure. So as far as a dream game, basically it would be Devil May Cry, but you're an engineer. And I want to elaborate on that a little bit,
Okay.
um, because there are a lot of engineer characters in video games, but I feel like none of them really quite feel like an engineer, if you know what I mean. Because like a lot of times it's like, okay, you put like a turret on the ground and it just shoots stuff for you. And then like in like background, it's like, oh, this character designed this machine that they use as a weapon, but that's just lore. That's not gameplay.
It's a
And I feel
turret
like if you want
placer.
to make, yeah, but if you want to make a character that really feels like an engineer, you have to put the design process in the hands of the player.
Right.
And I think that's really hard to do, but I think the way to do it is just by having a really modular system that allows the player to basically build their own abilities on the fly in real time.
Like Magica.
And that's part of the like the modular ability system that I used in the last game jam. Um,
Yeah.
that is ultimately going to go towards this project.
Okay. Yeah, the I really like that idea where I think about Magica, where you could have like the fire and the earth, and it makes, you know, a lava ability. Or if you've ever played the Gauntlet game, where the wizard class, you basically have on your buttons on your controller, you press like X and that brings up your ice abilities, and then you have the choice between like area effect, defensive, um, or targeted ability. So like you kind of get to mix and match different components of abilities and then send them out. And you get to be creative on the fly with it.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Magica is actually one of the main inspirations for this system.
okay, yeah, Magica is still a game that blows people away to this day.
It is such a cool game.
Yeah, I can definitely see
So
where you're going, especially if it's almost like you could do a. I feel like it would be tangential to a deck builder kind of thing if you like pre-built your machines ahead of time, like you have your different components and then you slot them together. And so you could either build a loadout of pre-built machines that are assembled components, and you like say, I'm going to, you know, maybe I can't build a machine on the fly, but I can build a loadout of 8 machines and I can choose them as my abilities, and it makes you think ahead of time, and then you get to see what it's like in practice.
yeah, I did plan a sort of it's kind of a split system where you have one half where you can kind of design things more slowly in your free time, and then you can also assemble things on the fly in combat.
Right. Yeah, I guess that would just be about combat efficacy. It's kind of like you can build a custom loadout when you're getting shot at, or you can just have everything ready to go, and your ability to like have had the foresight to pre-build something and then throw it out in rapid succession. And at that point, it's kind of like an actiony, high pressure situation. Or you have to be
Mhm.
very strategic in that, like, hey, here's the situation that I wasn't able to prepare for, and now I'm going to have to stop and make myself more vulnerable, but curate the exact solution that I need.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot to that, especially if it's not. It sounds like it would be better as a more methodical game, where the intense pressure is not necessarily the fact that um, things are happening so fast at you, but maybe that so many different things are happening at the same time that it feels fast because you just have to sequentially go through all the decisions. A lot of relatively straightforward decisions all at once.
I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
I'm making
I do
stuff up
think
now.
I would prefer a faster kind of game,
Okay.
because I think like the beauty of Devil May Cry is just being able to string together all those creative combos and just kind of creating your own play style in real time.
Right.
And I think if it's too slow, you can't really do that as much.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. Fun.
But anyway, you asked about more long-term goals.
Yeah.
I think pretty much my long-term goal is just to make a living as an indie developer and maybe become a director of my own studio someday.
What kind of role would you want to play? You want to be more of a systems engineer or more of like an actual producer and studio director managing the people?
I do think with my skill set, it would make most sense to be the systems engineer guy.
Okay. Yeah, so
But I
like
think
that.
I have a lot of ideas, and I think um, having at least some directorial capability would be desirable.
I think in the best studio structures, there is no singular arbiter of the creative vision. Like you can have somebody who makes sure everything stays cohesive, but I think everybody needs to be able to be a part of the process of creative collaboration. Like for example, in the Do Not Burn game, just saying like, hey, I have this cool idea for a maze mechanic, and you were able to figure out with your own creativity how it fit the theme. Um, I think that's an excellent way to do it, where um, being able to contribute your own creativity, where everybody has an opportunity to contribute in their own way, and it's just kind of coordinated and cohesive. That's the best way to get projects up and um, really
Yes,
really
absolutely. I don't want
exceptional.
to be a dictator.
Yeah,
I want to let other people have the chance to shine as well. Um, yeah, I definitely agree with that.
yeah, yeah. That's cool. So if we keep doing jams, are you interested in continuing to jam with us?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we make a pretty good team.
I've definitely enjoyed working with you. It's wild because how long I've known you, like in the Baltimore indie game devs. Like you pop in and you talk about stuff, but like I never really, I saw a couple of the things you were showing off, but never really worked with you. So now that I've actually worked with you, it's like, hey, we vibe pretty well. I like it.
Yeah, I think part of that is I generally like to keep my cards pretty close to the chest as far as what I'm working on, just because it's a little bit of a motivation thing. Because like if you just talk about what you're working on too much, you just talk about it and nothing ever really gets done.
Right.
Um, but the other thing is I've kind of just been grinding and just getting good at doing this. So I didn't want to really like jump into too many game jams until I felt like, okay, I have a lot of stuff that I can really bring to the table here, and I can just jump in and work with people. And it's like, okay, wow, this guy's actually pretty competent.
Yeah. No, you that definitely comes through. Like your work is paying off. I've I've been I I found you to be a very effective and functional teammate.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. I I know that I really like that swappable ability system that you made. Like I could see because you've already interfaced with the character template that I like to use. And so like if
Hmm.
we could probably create a very solid synergy like on a lot of game jams where we just have that pre-solved, and anytime we want to make a game where we want swappable abilities, like we could just steadily make the synergy between those systems more and more robust.
Yeah, and I got to show you my modular projectile system as well. That one's really fun.
Oh, that sounds cool. Do you want to talk about that just a little bit, and then
I can give you the high level.
okay.
Basically, every projectile is also a projectile spawner, and you just have a list of projectiles attached to it. And whenever each projectile in the list expires, it just spawns the next one. So you can make all sorts of crazy, complicated like bullet hell patterns just with this one system.
Oh, I got you. Okay. I did something like that in Sand Knight for the enemy encounter system, where you spawned enemies in waves, and each wave had a specific profile to it. So you could just string together. Once one wave ended, the next wave happened.
Hmm,
And so as you were walking through, enemies would come at you in certain patterns. And it was
that makes sense.
yeah. No, that sounds cool. With the process, what do you think went well with this jam, and what do you think could use, or what do you think we could improve on the process?
Let me think about that. Um, like you said, I do think we synergize well together. I like being able to just kind of say what I'm working on and just go grind on it for a bit, and then report back and be like, all right, here I have a thing for you, and then
Yeah.
we can just kind of like integrate that together. Um, as far as what we could improve on, um, I'd have to think about that.
Okay, that's fair. Like, I mean, honestly, as pain points arise, I like to figure out what's going on in that moment and then solve it and adjust the process. So like that's why I'm asking, because if anybody found like, hey, this is a way that we could do our process better, it's important to be aware of it so that we can actually take action on it.
So I will say a lot of the comments that we've been getting on our gem page are like, this forest level is really hard, and I to a degree that was expected, but It probably would have been good if we had a little bit more playtesting, because I think
Right.
especially I didn't really take into account the like visual distortion effects when I was making the level, and I
Yeah.
think that made it a lot harder to kind of figure out where we needed to go. So again, just a little bit more playtesting along the way would have probably helped a little bit to eliminate
I
those pain points.
Yeah, I can agree with that. There definitely, it seems like there's a little bit more bounce back than needs to be. Also, I just discovered this from a playtest right before this chat.
Mhm.
The guy using it, he was on an older laptop that didn't have a video card or a mouse. So he was trying to get through the woods on a trackpad with low FPS, and that was a challenge for him.
I
Um,
can't even imagine.
oh my, you know, you don't even think about the fact that some people just don't use mice, but there's totally a ton of people out there using their laptops and they're just like trackpad all the way, my dude. And I can't fathom it. I couldn't live my life that way, but there are people who do
Mhm.
that. Awesome. Well, hey, it's been great chatting. I don't think this is going to take much editing at all. I'm going to like maybe snip a couple things out.
Well, before you go, I have a couple questions for you.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
So, we've been talking a lot about game development, but I want to know a little bit more about you as a gamer. So, I got a couple of rapid fire questions for you.
Sure.
You
Let's
ready
do
for
it.
that?
Yes.
All right. What's your favorite game genre?
My favorite game genre, it has been evolving over time because I was really big into like co-op multiplayer games when I was a kid, with the sleepover stuff. I
Mhm.
got into MMOs and strategy games in my teens and 20s. And in my late 20s and early 30s, I was really into like very small scope competitive games. Like there's a game called Speedrunners. And lately, I've been having a lot of fun with just like tabletop simulation kind of games.
Oh, that's cool.
There's a game called Risk Global Domination that I got really into like in the past few months, and I actually had to stop playing it because I was playing it too much. It
Mhm.
was, it's just fun to like have these things where it's very strategic and methodical, and you just have to think through how you're going to play, but it's not super action oriented. I
Mhm.
I don't know. Like it's hard to pick a single genre that I'm crazy
Yeah,
into.
absolutely.
Um, but that's the gist of what's been moving me lately. I also really like games like Skyrim and Dragon Age, where you go through the process of steadily developing your character, building out the RPG. But I like the ones
Mhm.
that are a little bit slower paced, and you have to think through what you're going to do. I like a boss fight that doesn't happen too fast, but isn't quite a bullet sponge. I
Mhm.
like having to do a series of patterns that you have to learn and memorize, and then so you play through the boss once, and maybe you die two or three times, but then you figure out its pattern, and it's fair. um
So
yeah,
not quite Dark Souls.
I'm not. No, I definitely don't like Dark Souls. I got mad when I was playing Dark Souls, not because it was so hard, but because the game balance didn't reward you after you beat your head against the wall for an hour at an enemy, and then you get the item that it drops is not an upgrade. I'm just like, this is stupid. And I left. I was like, I got like 5 bosses into Dark Souls 3, and I was like, I'm not playing this anymore.
See, I'm just a bit of a masochist. I love those kinds of games.
Yeah, like I mean, I really like the games where you need to memorize patterns, um, but part of it was the tedium of it's like, hey, I lost to this boss, but now I have to do a 4-minute run and get a perfect fight against all of this trash every single time I want to try the boss. Like I liked in Mega Man, for example, where you get to the boss and you're like right at the checkpoint and you get to run in and just try the boss over and over. And if you're
Mhm.
struggling, you can choose to go to a level and farm some extra lives, and then you get 10 shots in a row to try to beat this boss. I think that
There are definitely some Souls likes that put you right in front of the boss, but it's definitely not all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm thinking mostly of Dark Souls 3, and I've heard Elden Ring is better about that.
Hmm.
But yeah, I do like pattern games. Like I know that Sand Knight was a pattern game, but it was sort of a moving bullet hell kind of game.
Hmm.
So yeah.
So I have more questions. Maybe we can go a little faster through the rest of
Okay.
them.
Okay.
So what is your proudest achievement as a gamer?
My proudest achievement as a gamer. Well, I got Master League in StarCraft 2.
That
I
is impressive.
Yeah, it was in Wings of Liberty. And I got I once killed an entire alliance raid on my rogue in vanilla World of Warcraft.
Wow.
I remember this was my guild was getting ready to do Molten Core, and I was on the Horde side, and the Alliance were all down at the bottom. And on my server, Alliance way outnumbered Horde, so there's so many people there that we just had to kind of wait up at the top of the chains, getting ready to go down. We had to wait till the Alliance went in before we could go in, and there was kind of this standoff where the Horde was at the top of the chain and the Alliance was at the bottom. And I ran down and I threw a dagger at one of them and ran back. And they all said, "Oh, we're not going to have this." And they all started to run up and chase me. And I stealthed and I turned around and I used my distract ability on the chain right in the middle of the Alliance group. So they all turned, and this was before they made turning stop your character from running. So they were running up the chain and then they turned and all jumped in the lava. And I killed most of them because they hadn't figured out how to jump in the lava to not die yet. And
That's pretty crazy.
it was so satisfying. It's one of my proudest moments of all time.
Nice. Okay, now real tough question. What's your favorite Pokemon?
I'm going to say Sneasel.
That's a good one. I like Sneasel.
It's dark and it's ice. It's like the two coolest um, types together. And last time I really played Pokemon was in the Johto era with Gold and
Mhm.
Silver. So that was the only dark ice type, and I just thought it was one of the coolest Pokemon.
I think it still is pretty much, aside from the evolutions.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know there was evolutions, but yeah, Sneasel would have to get my vote.
That's a good choice. Uh, do you have a main in Smash Bros?
I have a main in Smash Brothers 64, and it's Fox.
That counts.
Yeah, Fox is my jam.
Okay, so I had a fun little idea. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create your own personal Rick class. So first question, do you prefer to play tank, healer, or DPS?
I've played all three. I like to operate on the 5 split paradigm where there's also crowd control and pullers, and I like the crowd control.
Okay. Now stat-wise, strength, dexterity, or intelligence, and you can pick more than one if you want.
Is there one for durability?
That would
Constitution?
probably go under strength.
Strength? Okay, let's do strength.
Now, magical or physical?
Magical.
Melee or ranged?
Ranged.
Now, what would your choice of weapons be? And again, you can pick more than one.
Mind control. Like, so one of my favorite classes of all time was the Enchanter from EverQuest, where
Hmm.
you did nothing directly yourself as far as fulfilling the core loop of battle. The core loop of battle being I have 100 health and the monster has 100 health, and the goal is to get their health to 0 before mine. You didn't do any damage, and ideally you weren't tanking, but you did all of the things to help your party. You made your friends attack faster and regenerate mana faster. You made the enemies attack slower and you tapped their mana. You would do mesmerization and crowd control and remove enemies from combat. And if you wanted to do damage yourself, you would mind control one of the enemies and make them attack other enemies on your behalf. So you never did anything yourself, but you just did everything through your coefficient factor of all your teammates.
That is an interesting archetype. I'd like to see more of that in other games.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's like my absolute jam. I'm actually looking forward to a game coming out this year called Monsters and Memories, and it was heavily inspired by EverQuest, and it has an enchanter class that does that.
Hmm. Okay, now, would your class have any sort of special abilities or gimmicks?
The mind control. Like
Yeah, that's great.
the number one thing is like what you do is you walk into an area and you find the biggest baddest enemy and you make it your pet and you just have it run around and stomp everything.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
All right,
it's
last
fun.
question. Last question. We gotta give this Rick class a name. What are we gonna call it?
Hmm. The uh so like I want to call it the enchanter, but I don't want to do exactly that. Like we'll call it the mind bender.
All right, that sounds like a pretty cool class. I think I would be excited to play something like that.
Yeah.
So that's all the questions I had for you. Thanks again for taking this time to talk with me.
Yeah, no, it was great. I know one of the biggest challenges that we have when we do jams is a lot of times you jam with somebody, you have a good time, and then you just kind of break off, and then you don't talk again.
Hmm.
It's unfortunate, but it is kind of a pattern that I've noticed that happens a lot of times. So I wanted to take some time and chat with you, get to know you better as a person outside of the context of we're working on a project and there's a deadline.
Yeah, I like this. This is a good idea.
Cool, thank you. I'm glad you do. All right, cool. Well, I will let you go now. I am going to stop the recording, and this was fun.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, Ben. I'll talk with you later.
Yep, have a good day.